Hello, everyone. So, welcome back to our channel, Math Tonic. And like, words are too less for me to express how happy I am to see your response. And this appreciation that you have given me has motivated me to make this another paper. And I just want to confirm this. Many of you feel that I have included the past papers which are very old. Yes, I did. I have included the past papers from the old past papers, but there is no question where actually you can say that this is out of your syllabus because I'm very well aware of the topics that you have in 0610, and it is like I know it in and out. And this is not a very different thing that Cambridge always, makes certain modifications and gives those questions in the exam. It has happened in the past, it has been happening, so it's just like this, okay? And many of the questions we just put it in the predicted paper so that you get, an idea to write in your exams, okay? So this is a predicted paper to make you more confident in the topics that you might anticipate in your exams, okay? So I'm really, really happy and thankful to you. Keep motivating us with your subscriptions, with your comments. They really make us happy. And this is the biggest achievement I can ever feel as a teacher. Okay. So if you like keep doing this, this will also help the other students who actually need us more, who actually need this help. Thank you so much. Do well in the exam. Do very, very good. Okay. So let's start the paper. 1A. A student used an apparatus to investigate the effect of temperature on the rate of photosynthesis of the leaves of Chinese plantain, Plantago asiatica, at two different concentrations of carbon dioxide A and B. Figure 2.2 shows the results of the investigation. So they have measured the rate of photosynthesis at 1000 ppm of CO2 and 370 ppm of CO2. And this is done with respect to the temperature also. So first part, state one environmental factor that should be kept constant in this investigation. So what things you can keep constant here? You can keep constant light intensity because light intensity affects photosynthesis. Another possible answer for this one is humidity. Okay. Double I. Describe the effect of temperature on the rate of photosynthesis when CO2 concentration A was supplied. So we come back to the graph. Okay. What I have simply written in the answer is that the rate of photosynthesis increases till 30 degree. This is till 30 degree and then it levels off. Okay. And I have written one particular data. Like for example, at 30 degree, it is going to be 22. So I have written that. Rate of photosynthesis increases from 10 to 30 degree and stays constant above 30 degrees. At 30 degrees Celsius, the rate is 22 micromole per meter square per second. Please be sure that you have to write the units. If you're not writing the units, they might not give you marks. Okay, so it is important always to mention the units. Calculate the percentage increase in the rate of photosynthesis at 30 degrees Celsius when the carbon dioxide concentration was increased from A to B as shown in figure 2.2. Sorry for the interruption. Show your working and give your answer to the nearest whole number. Okay. So here we just have to first see what is the value for A and B at 30 degree. So for A, I've already told you it is 22. For B, it is 30. Okay. So 30 minus 22 upon 22 into 100. That's going to be our calculation here. When you do it, you will get this answer. As it is saying nearest to the whole number, you have to round it off to 36. So fourth part now. Explain the effect of increasing temperature on the rate of photosynthesis for carbon dioxide concentration of B. Use the term limiting factor in your answer. So I had started my answer with the same what they have given. The temperature is the limiting factor in B throughout. Now we can link it to the enzymes because we know that photosynthesis is an enzyme catalyzed reaction and temperature increases the kinetic energy between the enzyme and substrate molecules. There are more successful collisions, so more enzyme substrate complex are formed. So this is what you can frame in your answer. You can also use this approach in enzyme related question if it comes related to that. Fifth part. The student concluded the CO2 concentration is the limiting factor limiting the rate of photosynthesis between 30 degree and 35 degree. for the result shown for A in figure 2.2. State the evidence for this conclusion. So it is saying to you that at 30 to 35 degree, the rate for photosynthesis levels off because the CO2 concentration in A is lower. How do you prove it with an evidence? So as we know that when we saw this graph, the rate of photosynthesis was higher from 30 to 35 degrees for B because B had a concentration of CO2 higher than A. So that is why this is the evidence for us that in between 30 to 35 degrees, the rate of photosynthesis was higher for B and the CO2 concentration was also higher. So this evidence I have written here. The graph of B has higher rate with more CO2 concentration than A. Moving to second question. TPA, tissue plasminogen activators, are human protein that are used as drugs to break down blood clots. TPA break down blood clots by activating plasminogen. Plasminogen is a protein that is always present in the blood. When activated, plasminogen forms a protease that breaks down fibrin molecules. I. Plasminogen is found in plasma. State what is meant by the term plasma. Liquid part of the blood. Okay, plasma, blood plasma we are talking about, so it is the liquid part of the blood. State the products of action of protease on the protein fibrin. What will be the product when you digest this fibrin with this enzyme? So when you digest it with protease, what will be produced? It's going to be your amino acid. It it is actually a very easy question, but then students they tend to get confused that what will be produced. So it's just a protein that will produce what? Amino acids on digestion. So this is a question related to genetic engineering. So the question is really easy if you know the steps. Okay. So here we are basically isolating the TPA gene from the human blood cell, and here from this what are we doing? We are putting it in the plasmid. This is the plasmid of bacteria. We are cutting the plasmid as well as the TPA gene. This extra hangings that you see here, these are your sticky ends. Same sticky ends will be here. So they both have complementary sticky ends. We incubate them together in DNA ligase. A recombinant DNA plasmid is obtained, and this is how it is put in bacteria to produce the TPA protein. State the name of structure A. So structure A is what? Structure A is plasmid. Here, this is structure A, this is plasmid. In the flow chart, X represents the action of the enzyme on a molecule of DNA. State the name of this enzyme. So as I told you, we extract this particular gene, and this gene is extracted using the restriction enzyme, as well as we cut this a particular your plasmid also with the same restriction enzyme, so that we can generate your complementary sticky ends and actually recombinant plasmid is obtained. So the same thing we are going to write in the next question. The TPA gene is inserted into a structure A. Explain how the gene is inserted into structure A to form structure B as shown in figure 5.1. So 5.1, this is B, recombinant DNA plasmid. So cutting human gene and plasmid from the same restriction enzyme to produce complementary sticky ends, use DNA ligase to join the sticky ends of plasmid and human gene. Okay, and this generates your recombinant DNA plasmid. If you want that, you can write that point also. That will give you 4 particular marks. Now, before TPA was made by genetically engineered bacteria, it was only available from blood donated by people. State one advantage of producing TPA from genetically engineered bacteria. You get the same kind of protein. You're not including the fluid from other people, so there are no allergic reactions, no need to purify their blood or test their blood, and that's why it is more suitable. Fifth part, discuss the disadvantage of producing genetically modified crops. So what are the disadvantages of growing and producing your genetically modified crops? Seeds are very expensive. Reduce genetic variation to adapt to changing environment because you are only including some of the genes, and resistant gene uh, to insects or herbs might cause superweeds. If these genes they spread somehow to the weeds, they can develop superweeds which will be extremely resistant because no herbicide or pesticide is going to work on them. ethical concerns for changing the genes of organism. Since we have this particular concern that every organism has a particular type of gene, so it would be completely unethical to change any organism's gene. You're changing nature basically. So this is not appropriate. Coming to question number 3 now. A plant, Arabidopsis thaliana, was placed on its side in the dark. Figure 2.2 is a series of drawing made of the plant over 7 days as it responded to a change in its surrounding. So this is a plant which is kept in darkness. Okay. So if it is kept in darkness, first question, state the stimulus to which the plant responded. So light is not there. Then what can be the only stimulus? It can be gravity. Second, name the growth response shown by the plant. So the growth response shown by the plant is negative gravitropism. Triple I. Explain the advantage to plants of the growth response shown in figure 2.2. So, what it is asking you is how the shoot growing towards light and root growing towards gravity, how does it basically help the plant? So, when the shoot is growing towards light, it will basically have more diffusion of oxygen, it will reach more light, and that will promote photosynthesis, and that how there will be more growth of the plant. Same way you can write for roots also, as they are growing towards gravity, they will absorb more ions. When they will absorb more ions, this will help in, again, you can say, maybe if you can give an example of nitrate ions, so that will help in producing more of proteins for growth. Or you can also talk about your magnesium ions, which will help in formation of chlorophyll. You can also talk about here more anchorage for the plant to bind the soil. Now coming to the B part, auxins control the growth responses of seedlings. Explain how the auxins control the growth responses of A. thaliana, shown in figure 2.2. I'm reading this out and then I will explain it. So, auxin is produced at the shoot tip. It diffuses below under the effect of gravity and causes the elongation of cells on the lower surface. And the tip bends and grows upwards. Okay. So, coming to the diagram. So, auxin is produced here. Okay. This auxin is going to diffuse here. Okay. When it is going to diffuse here, basically here it is going to cause the elongation of cell. So imagine there is going to be more cells here than the upper surface, and that is how it is going to show bending like this. So this is how the tip bends towards upwards when there is no light, but still there is gravity. Question number 4 now. Tasmania is an island off the south coast of Australia. Sheep were introduced to Tasmania in the 19th century. Figure 3.1 shows the population of sheep in Tasmania from 1820 to 1940. The dashed line shows the trend in the population growth. So here the dashed line is the trend and the solid line is the actual number. So the number of sheep increases exponentially till 1860. Okay, it remains constant from 1860 to 1930 with fluctuations, that is stationary phase. Okay, so if I write this much, I'll just let you know that writing this will give me extra marks. I can also write the number here. Okay, so exact number which was your 2.25 in that, because now there might be slight modifications also. So basically it is trying to tell you to describe the trend of the graph, but I tried to include one data also, so I have written that it peaks around 2.25 in between 1850 to 1860. B part. Explain the change in the trend of the population that you described in 3A. So what is the change in the population? Basically, in this part, you have to explain about the growth curves of the population. So I have written, first of all, 1820 to 1850, there are more birth than death as there is more food availability and less predators. And from 1850 to 1930, the population is constant. So there is equal births and death. You can also say that there is increased competition and limited food availability. Okay, or you can also say that there are more herbivores, so increased competition. So because of that also you can mention here. C part. The sheep that were first introduced to Tasmania were not well adapted to the environment. Describe how farmers can use selective breeding to improve their sheep so that they are better adapted to the environment. So basically, you have to explain here selective breeding. Keep this in mind, these points which are there related to selective breeding, as you can use them in all the answers. First of all, farmers choose animals with desired feature. If it is plant, you can modify it to plant. Crossbreeding them to obtain offspring. Select the offspring with desired feature. Repeat it for many generations. So this is how you basically do selective breeding. D. Maintaining very large population of farm animal is unsustainable. Define the term sustainable resource. A resource which is produced rapidly as it is removed from the environment and does not run out. So this is the definition for sustainable resource. E. The introduction of sheep on island reduced the number of tortoise drastically. Discuss the ways in which the number of tortoise can be restored. Now, this question can come up in other forms also, like it can come up for other organisms. So you can use these common points. First of all, keeping them in protected areas, monitoring their numbers, educating people, implementing laws for hunting, and also using captive breeding program in which we use your IVF and AI to increase their number. F part. Give two similarities and two differences between AI and IVF. So common thing between AI and IVF is there is collection of sperm sample in both the cases, and also it includes implantation in the uterus. So these are the two common points which you can write. The difference is that in IVF both egg and sperm are collected outside and fertilization is external in IVF, as well as zygote is produced outside the body in IVF. So this is the differences, three differences of IVF with respect to your AI. The kidney is one of the main excretory organ of the body. Explain role of liver in excretion. So liver breaks down excess amino acid as their nitrogen part is removed and used to form urea. Apart from this, if you feel that you're not confident, you can also write about a toxic product which is also broken down, that is your lactic acid. One of the roles of the kidney is to filter the blood. Figure 1.1 shows a section of a kidney. B. Table 1.1 shows the concentration of four solutes in the blood in the renal artery, in the fluid in the kidney tubule is nephron, and in the urine. Explain the difference in the concentration of constituents between the blood, fluid in the kidney tubule, and urine. So this is a very easy 6-marker question which you can easily do. If it comes up, you are really lucky. You can just write the same answer. This question changes its form, but the exact answer remains the same. It has come up like 2 3 times I have seen, but the exact answer is like an answer remains the same, only the question information changes in different ways. So I'll just read out the answer. First of all, you can see all of the glucose gets filtered, all of the salts they get filtered, and all of the urea it gets filtered. Water they have not mentioned, but many of the times they have mentioned water also. So I've written water also get filtered. And then none of the proteins they actually get filtered because they are too big to pass or to diffuse out of the glomerulus. Then glucose is reabsorbed by active transport using energy and from carrier proteins. You can write from low to high concentration also. Some salts are reabsorbed again from active transport. Excess salts, water, and all of the urea are excreted out in urine. So what remains in the urine is excess water, excess salts, as well as all of the urea. Urea concentration increases, as you can see here. Urea concentration was 0.2, 0.2, and 20. Urea concentration increases in urine as most water is reabsorbed in loop of Henle by osmosis. So what exactly is increasing here is not the urea, but the concentration of water is decreasing, and that's why there is more concentration of urea in the urine. Question number 6. Pollution is the harm done to the environment by release of substances from human activities. Table 4.1 shows the names of the some pollutants, their sources, their effects on environment. So, carbon dioxide is the pollutant sources, fossil fuel combustion, effect on the environment, enhanced greenhouse effect. Pollutant methane source is your cattle and rice farming. Effect on the environment, enhanced greenhouse effect. Third one is already completed. So this is a question related to eutrophication. You can just go through the steps. They are really easy and very much interconnected to each other. So B part, When fertilizer is applied to the field, it can lead to eutrophication in lakes and rivers. Describe and explain what happens in lake when eutrophication occurs. Fertilizers are rich in nitrates and organic matter. They increase growth of algae in water bodies. Algae cover the water body. Other plants are not able to obtain light. So when the fertilizers are put in water, algae, they get all the nutrients, organic matter, nitrate ions, and they rapidly increase. They cover the entire water body and do like the surface of the water body do not allow any light to enter. And as a result of this, the plants which are there inside the water, they are not able to get light and they die due to increased competition. The decomposers, they break down the producers, use all the oxygen by aerobic respiration, and this reduces oxygen in the lake and leads to killing of the organisms which are there in water, like fish and the other organism. And this is how the complete biodiversity of the lake decreases. So this is our last question. Meningitis is a transmissible disease. One form of the disease is caused by the bacterium Neisseria meningitidis. Define the term transmissible disease, a disease caused by pathogen which spreads from one host to another. B. Explain why the shape of antibody is important. So just to let you know, antibody is a protein. So this antibody has a specific structure because it needs to be complementary and specific to the antigen. Because antibody binds with antigen. So that is why it needs to have a specific structure complementary to antigen. What is an antigen? Antigen is a particular part which is present over the pathogen. So suppose if this is a pathogen, the surface you can see here, this one, as well as this one. These are what? These are nothing but antigen. This is a pathogen and a part of pathogen is your antigen. An antigen can also be a toxin, like for example, cholera bacterium, when it releases the cholera toxin, that is an antigen only. Okay. C. This question basically explains you the entire procedure of vaccination, so you can just learn it in this way only. The spread of meningitis can be controlled by using vaccines. Explain how. Vaccination provides active immunity. Weakened pathogen is injected. Pathogen has antigen over its surface. Lymphocytes recognize antigen and produce antibody complementary to antigen. Memory cells are produced which provide long-term immunity. So if you write the same thing, this is good enough for even 5 marks. Specifically, if I mention producing antibodies is 1 mark and complementary to antigen is another mark. Double I. If meningitis disappears from a country, explain why the vaccine should continue to be used in the country. To develop herd immunity, which is first one. Second, travelers bring more cases from the other countries. There can be people coming in and out. So people coming in can bring this disease again. And some hosts have not shown the symptoms. Some hosts might have it, but they have not become active till now. So that is why it is continued to use vaccination even when the disease is not there. D part now. People who have meningitis are treated with injections of antibody to give them passive immunity. Suggest why the antibodies must be injected rather than taking them by mouth. So why do you think that they need to be injected? First thing which comes to my mind instantly is that they basically will have a faster action. Second thing is antibodies are protein, so they can get denatured by HCl and they can also get digested by your protease, enzymes, or pepsin in your stomach. So that is why it has to be taken like through blood or through injections in the blood, but cannot be eaten. Second, explain why passive immunity does not give long-term protection against diseases such as meningitis. So, passive immunity involves injecting antibodies, which can basically, there is no lymphocytes which are producing the antibodies, you're taking them from outside. So, these antibodies can later be broken down, and also there are no memory cells. So, that is why if there are no memory cells, it cannot be a long-term immunity. So here we finish our last predicted paper. Okay. So again, I'm not going to take much of your time because I know there is a lot of things which you might be going through, and a lot of things might be going around in your mind. But before you enter in the examination hall and before you go, you just have to, relax yourself. Don't just drag yourself to the last minute. Keep on studying. finish your preparations well before that. For the last 1 hour or 1.5 hour, just relax before you go inside the exam. And you know, patiently read the questions, do your best, perform them. Hopefully, I will upload some more videos for the upcoming papers for paper 6 and paper 2. So, all the very best. Do well in your exam, and I pray that you all get A stars. All the very best.